Thought you could get away with stealing the crown jewels, did you? Whined Mr. Parker. I know all about your wicked plan. Well, it's over. Officers, take them away and lock them up and throw away the key. The policeman pulled the captives in the direction of 2 waiting police cars. Hang on a sec, shouted Ben. If we stole the crown jewels, where are they? Yes, of course. The evidence. All we need to put you 2 gangsters behind bars forever. Search the basket of the scooter. At once, said Mr. Parker. One of the policemen went through the basket. He found a large package wrapped in soggy cling film. Ah, yes, must be the jewels, said Mr. Parker confidently. Give it here. Mr. Parker shot Granny and Ben a smug look. He started unwrapping the package. Quite a few minutes passed until the big package was a little package. Finally, Mr. Parker reached the end of the cling film. Ah, yes, here we are, he announced as a tin of cabbage soup fell to the ground. Could I have that, please, Mr. Parker, said Granny. It's my lunch. Search her bungalow, barked Mr. Parker. A few policemen tried to bash open the front door by charging at it with their shoulders. Granny looked on, amused, before venturing. I've got the key right here, if you'd rather use that. One of the policemen approached her and rather sheepishly took the key. Thank you, madam, he said politely. Granny and Ben shared a smile. He then opened the door, and what seemed like hundreds of policemen charged inside. They frantically searched the bungalow, but after a short while they re-emerged empty-handed. There's no crown jewels in there, I'm afraid, sir, said one of the policemen. Just a Scrabble set and quite a few more tins of cabbage soup. Mr. Parker's face went red with fury. He had called out half the police officers in the country, all for nothing. Now, Mr. Parker, said one of the policemen to him, you're very lucky we aren't arresting you for wasting police time. Wait, said Mr. Parker, just because the jewels aren't on them or in the house doesn't mean they don't have them. I know what I heard. Search the garden. Yes, dig it up. The policeman put a calming hand. Mr. Parker, we can't just... Suddenly, a light of triumph lit up in Mr. Parker's eyes. Hang on. You haven't asked them where they were this evening. I know they went to steal the crown jewels, and I bet they don't have an alibi for tonight. The policeman turned to Ben and Granny, frowning. Actually, that's not a bad point, he said. Would you mind telling me where you were tonight? Mr. Parker was positively beaming now. Just then, another policeman waddled over to them. There was something familiar about him, and when Ben saw his moustache, he knew why. Boss, we've just had a call through for you on a... PC Fudge began, holding up a walkie-talkie. He stopped suddenly, staring at Ben and Granny. Well, he said, if it isn't the cling film people. PC Pear, said Ben. Fudge, corrected Fudge. Sorry, yes, Fudge. Nice to see you again. The police officer looked confused. Sorry? The lad and his granny. They're the Cling Film Appreciation Society. They went to their annual meeting in London tonight. I dropped them off, in fact. So they weren't stealing the crown jewels? Asked his boss. No, laughed PC Fudge. They were merging with the Bubble Wrap Society. Stealing the crown jewels, indeed. He smiled at Ben and Granny. What an idea. Mr. Parker had gone red in the face. But they did it. They're villains, I'm telling you. While he was spluttering, the superior officer took the walkie-talkie from PC Fudge. Yep, right, thank you, he said. He turned to Ben and Granny. That was Special Branch. I asked them to check if the crown jewels were still there. Turns out they are. I'm sorry, ma'am. And boy, we'll have those handcuffs off to you in a jiffy. Mr. Parker slumped, looking utterly dejected. No, it can't be. If I hear one more peep out of you, Mr. Parker, said the policeman, I will throw you in the cells for the night. He turned smartly on his heel and walked over to one of the patrol cars, followed by PC Fudge, who waved at Ben and Granny as he left. Ben and Granny approached Mr. Parker, their hands still cuffed together. What you heard were just stories, said Ben. Just my granny telling me stories, Mr. Parker. I think you may have let your imagination run away with you. But, blustered Mr. Parker. Me? An international jewel thief? Granny chuckled. The policemen all started chuckling too. You'd have to be a bit daft to believe a thing like that, she said. Sorry, Ben, she whispered to her grandson. That's okay, Ben whispered back. The policemen unlocked the handcuffs and hastily retreated to their cars and vans and sped off to Grey Close. "Sorry to disturb you, madam," said one of the departing officers. "Have a good day." The helicopters disappeared up into the dawn sky. As the blades got faster, Mr. Parker's precious pork pie hat flew off his head and into a puddle. Granny approached Mr. Parker, who was standing hatless in her drive. "If you ever need to borrow a packet of sugar," she said kindly. "Yes," said Mr. Parker. "Don't knock on my door, or I'll shove that bag of sugar up your backside," said Granny with a sweet smile.